$3,000. That's what 500,000 authors were offered for their books being used to train AI. Anthropic Settlement, $1.5 billion total. September 2025. Approved by a federal judge. Most authors accepted. December 23rd, 2025. 6 authors said no. John Carreyrou, Pulitzer Prize winner, exposed Theranos. He and 5 others filed new lawsuits. Demand: $900,000 per book, not $3,000. $900,000. And I have the court filings, the AI company valuations, and the copyright math that proves this case threatens every AI business model. Anthropic, founded 2021 by former OpenAI executives, Dario and Daniela Amodei, created Claude, AI assistant competing with ChatGPT. To train Claude, they needed data, billions of words, books, articles, documentation. August 2024, class action lawsuit filed. Authors Andrea Bartz, Charles Graeber, Kirk Wallace Johnson. Allegation: Anthropic trained Claude using pirated books from LibGen and Piliimi. Shadow libraries, illegal repositories, millions of copyrighted books. Downloaded without permission, no payment to authors, fed directly into AI training pipelines. June 2025. Judge William Alsop rules on summary judgment. Northern District of California. His decision splits the issue. Training AI on legally acquired books? Fair use under copyright law? Training AI on pirated books? Not fair use. The distinction matters. If authors gave permission or publishers sold digital rights, training is legal. But piracy? Illegal acquisition means illegal use. December 1st, 2025. Trial scheduled. Anthropic's potential liability for piracy. July. Court certifies a class. All rights holders of books Anthropic acquired from LibGen and Piliimi. Here's the settlement structure. September 25th, 2025. Judge Alsop preliminarily approves $1.5 billion settlement. Payment schedule in 4 installments. $300 million by October 2nd. $225 million by March 2026. $475 million by September 2026. $450 million by September 2027. But here's what authors actually receive. $3,000 per eligible book, plus interest. Books must be registered with US Copyright Office, must have ISBN or ASIN numbers, must appear on LibGen or Piliimi datasets that Anthropic used. $1.5 billion sounds massive. Divide by estimated 500,000 books in the class. $3,000 per book. Copyright Act allows up to $150,000 per willfully infringed work. $3,000 is 2% of the maximum. Authors do the math. Their books train models worth hundreds of billions. Settlement offers 0.002% of AI company valuations. If this kind of AI economics investigation is new to you, subscribe. We expose the billion-dollar strategies behind every tech war. Because $3,000 wasn't a fair offer. It was a calculated business decision. November 13th, 2025. Judge Alsop holds hearing. Claims Hero website launched. Law firm urging authors to opt out of settlement. File individual lawsuits instead. Alsop calls Claims Hero, quote, a fraud of immense proportions. Tells them to alter misleading communications. Authors who accepted settlement file motion. Stop Claims Hero from luring people to opt out. Stop. Before I show you who rejected the settlement and why, you need to understand the piracy versus fair use economics. Because this distinction determines whether AI companies owe $3,000 per book or $900,000. Shadow libraries, LibGen, Library Genesis, estimated 80 million academic articles and books. Z Library, over 13 million books. Ocean of PDF, millions more, all pirated, no authorization, no payment to authors or publishers. AI companies discovered these repositories. Perfect training data, high quality books, already digitized, easy to download in bulk. According to the new lawsuit, companies, quote, downloaded pirated copies of books from illegal shadow libraries, then fed them into large language models. Training data became the foundation of billion-dollar products. ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, Llama, Grok, all trained on potentially pirated content. December 23rd, 2025, 6 authors opt out. File individual lawsuits, not class action. Individual cases against 6 companies. Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, Meta, xAI, Perplexity, seeking $150,000 per work from each defendant. 6 times $150,000 equals $900,000 per book. And here's where this affects you. If you create any content online, writing, art, music, video, AI companies are training on it. Without permission, without payment. Quick question. Have you found your content in AI training data? Type yes or no below. Because what I'm about to reveal shows exactly how much your work is worth to AI companies. Here's the AI training pipeline. Step 1. Acquire data. Download from shadow libraries, scrape websites, license some content, aggregate billions of words. Step 2. Pre-process. Clean text. Remove duplicates. Format for training. Step 3. Train models. Feed data into neural networks. Billions of parameters. Months of GPU compute. Step 4. Commercial monetization. ChatGPT Plus. Claude Pro. API access. Enterprise deals. Billions in revenue. Authors provided Step 1. Receive zero compensation. AI companies build $100 billion businesses. Send this to anyone who thinks it's just training data isn't theft, because the new lawsuit calls it, quote, deliberate act of theft. The 6 plaintiffs: John Carreyrou, investigative journalist, Wall Street Journal, Pulitzer Prize winner, exposed Terranos, wrote Bad Blood, now suing AI companies that used his book without permission. 5 others join him. Names not all publicly disclosed. But the strategy is deliberate. File individually, not class action. Why? Class action settled, quote, at bargain basement rates. The lawsuit states LLM companies should not be able to so easily extinguish thousands upon thousands of high-value claims at bargain basement rates, eliding what should be the true cost of their massive willful infringement. Willful infringement, that's the key legal term. Copyright Act distinguishes between innocent infringement and willful. Innocent? $500 to $30,000 per work. Willful? $75,000 to $150,000 per work. Authors argue AI companies knew the books were pirated, downloaded from known illegal sources, used them anyway, built commercial products, generated billions. That's willful. Maximum statutory damages apply. Wait, I know what you're thinking. Can't AI companies just claim they didn't know? Let me show you why the defense collapses when you look at how shadow libraries are accessed and what internal documents likely reveal. Here's Anthropic's valuation timeline. March 2025, $61.5 billion, Series E funding. September 2025, $183 billion, Series F, $13 billion raised. November 2025, $350 billion estimated, Microsoft and Nvidia investments. Revenue run rate, $5 billion annually as of August. Remember that $3,000 per book settlement? Authors provided training data for a company now worth $350 billion. Settlement offered 0.00008% of company valuation per book. This is why I investigate AI economics. Subscribe to see what these training datasets cost companies. Because if authors win $900,000 per book times 500,000 books, that's $450 billion in potential damages. Anthropic isn't alone. OpenAI, valued around $500 billion, preparing secondary sale. Google, $2 trillion market cap. Gemini trained on vast datasets. Meta, $1.4 trillion market cap. Llama models open sourced but trained on similar data. xAI, Elon Musk's company. Grok chatbot, estimated $40 billion valuation. Perplexity, AI search engine, valued at $9 billion. All 6 companies sued, all potentially used pirated books. Total market value of defendants, over $4 trillion. Authors seek $900,000 per book from each. Multiply by number of infringed works. Potential damages, astronomical. Authors spend years writing books, research, drafting, revisions. Publishers invest in editing, marketing, distribution. Copyright protects that investment. Ensures creators get paid when their work is used commercially. Then AI companies downloaded their books from pirate sites, used them to train models without asking, without compensating. Authors discovered their life's work inside ChatGPT. Claude could quote from their books. Gemini trained on their narratives. They received nothing. Now 500,000 authors face a choice. Accept $3,000 or fight for $900,000. January 16th, 2026. Deadline. Authors must decide. Join settlement. Receive $3,000. Waive all future claims. Or opt out. File individual suits. Risk getting nothing. But potentially win $900,000. But settlement documents don't show which authors desperately need the money now versus those who can afford to fight for years. The litigation costs, the emotional toll, the uncertainty. They don't teach this in writing workshops. Now you know what content creators face when tech companies monetize their work. Have you ever had your content used without permission? Share your story below. Because this case sets precedent for every creator economy platform. $3,000 requires no proof of damages. Just prove your book was in the training set. Receive payment from settlement fund. Done. $900,000 requires proving 6 separate cases against 6 defendants: Anthropic, OpenAI, Google, Meta, XAI, Perplexity. Each trial potentially lasting months. Discovery, depositions, expert witnesses, legal fees advancing, but if successful, 300 times more money. And I saved the copyright math for last, because the author's lawyers have a track record. They used this exact same strategy before, successfully, against universities, settled for billions. The law firms representing the 6 authors: Stries and Maher LLP, Friedman Normand Friedland LLP. Their previous case, Henry et al. Versus Brown University et al. Antitrust lawsuit. 17 top universities accused of price-fixing college tuition. Strategy? Individual cases, not class action. Same as now. Result? Settlements. Multiple universities paid out. Exact amounts confidential. But the strategy worked. Deep pocket defendants. Individual jury trials. Higher settlement pressure than class actions. Check AI stock holdings. If this strategy succeeds, every AI company faces billions in liability. Send this to anyone invested in AI, because OpenAI alone could owe $75 billion if all pirated works result in maximum statutory damages. Here's the copyright math. US Copyright Act, Title 17, Section 5, 04, statutory damages, willful infringement, up to $150,000 per work, multiplied by 6 defendants, $900,000 per book maximum. Settlement offered $3,000. That's 2% of the statutory ceiling from one defendant. 0.33% if you account for all 6 companies. Remember Anthropic's $183 billion valuation? Remember authors provided the training data? Now look at what the law allows. You will see this number in court filings for years. The question is whether juries award it. Subscribe to track AI copyright economics as these cases develop, because New York Times already sued OpenAI and Perplexity separately. More lawsuits coming. Here's the economic summary. 500,000 authors offered $3,000 each. 1.5 billion total. 6 authors rejected it. Filed for $900,000 per book. 300 times more. Total potential liability across all authors and all defendants, hundreds of billions, more than some companies' entire valuations. Here's my controversial take. AI companies will settle. Quietly, confidentially. For amounts between $3,000 and $900,000. Nobody gets the full amount. Nobody goes to zero. Because discovery would reveal every other pirated book in their training data. That's the nuclear option. Tell me I'm wrong in the comments. You can't unknow this. Every AI product announcement, every new model release, you'll wonder what copyrighted content trained it. What will you do with this information? Should I investigate the New York Times versus OpenAI case next, or Disney's AI copyright battles? Most interesting suggestion gets the next deep dive. $3,000 versus $900,000. Authors versus AI companies. Settlement versus litigation. This case determines whether training AI on copyrighted content costs pocket change or hundreds of billions. The economics of AI development depend on it. If you want to understand how copyright battles reshape AI business models and affect technology investments, this is the only channel that calculates both the settlement offers and the maximum liability. Subscribe and hit the bell. I audit AI economics mainstream tech media ignores every week. Click here for TSMC versus Intel trade secrets, $10 billion at stake, or this one for Qualcomm's complete victory over ARM. See you there.